It's David Hall back again with 8 good minutes, and I got a feeling we might run a little over this week, but for good reason. My good new friend Chad Rossow is here with us, and man, what an unbelievable story that I saw on the news, and we immediately called you to come in because you were part of a life-saving experience. This is a police officer that I'm watching Channel 4 a couple of weeks ago. It must have been 3 weeks ago now, and you saved a guy's life.
Now, this incident highlights not only the training that officers go through for these types of situations, but also the compassion that they have for people in need.
7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig shows us how those Warren police officers made a connection with that young man and helped save a life.
It was here behind this closed business in Warren on 9 Mile that Warren police truly changed a teenager's life by saving it.
We had just came from another mental health call, actually.
And that's when Warren police officers Charles Cobble and Chad Rossow got the call that would help save a teen's life. It started with a call to 911.
I'm driving down 9 Mile, and there's this young man in a cream-colored hoodie with a backpack on. He's got a water bottle in his hand. He's got a gun, and the first time I saw it, he had it up to his head. I'm just kind of concerned for him.
Whoa, relax. What are you doing?
Hey, put it down, bro.
What's your name?
He's got the gun to his head.
What's your name?
The gun the teen had was loaded, and as Officer Rosso talked to him, Officer Cobble positioned himself with a taser and advised other officers to stand back.
17? Okay, hey, listen.
Hey, Jimmy, we got it.
Hold on. Hold on. I don't want you to die. You got a family? You got a mom? What do you think? You got a brother or sister? What do you think they're going to feel?
The best thing that I can do is try to help you think outside of the chaos in your head. You know, what would your family think? What would your mom think? And then that's when he started to really open up, like, yeah.
Can I help you? I'm not here to hurt you. Okay, well, listen. We'll take you back. I promise you I will personally make sure you're taken care of.
And officers Rosso and Cobble say police runs like this involving someone having a mental health crisis have increased dramatically.
All you got to do is put that gun down. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, put the gun down on the ground. Stop. Hold on. Turn around. You're okay.
We're all human. We all have things that go on in our lives. You know, we've all been in a very low point in our lives. And so, if anything, I feel very connected to him at the moment because I was able to walk him through maybe one of the lowest points in his life.
You're okay.
Being able to, secure the firearm and take him to the hospital, get him the help that he needed, it was immense, And even the embrace with the parents that came to the hospital and, talking to them, they were very thankful.
You made the right choice today, okay?
Put my hands on his shoulder and thanked him for doing the right thing and letting us help him.
And it was a moving experience. I haven't told these guys yet. I rewound it and watched it twice, was moved to tears, which is why I called you. And I just thought that this whole experience that you had outside of a Starbucks with a teenager that was going through a mental health issue was just one of the feel-good stories of the year. I wanted to congratulate you. I wanted to thank you. And I just wanted to, get your perspective on being a police officer in these kind of situations. I get to work in 72-degree temperature every day behind a computer sending emails, and you're out there risking your life, and I wanted to say thanks.
I mean, it's just part of the job. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to come out and answer questions and perspectives. I remember the day like it was yesterday. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that it was my first time in that situation. I wish I could tell you that it'll probably be my last time in that situation, but I'm just lucky and blessed that turned out the way that it did, to be honest.
So you were called into duty, just to get this set up for everybody. There was a young man, I think he was 17. He was having some mental health issues, and he had a gun. And tell us about how you got called into the scene and what happened and how it all went down.
So before that happened, before it came out, me and my partner were actually on another mental health call, and when the call came out, it actually came out as a man with a gun. So we had no idea that it was something more of a mental health crisis. We just thought it could have been, who knows what it could have been. So obviously when it came out, we had the notes, which were from the gentleman that called it in, the anonymous caller. So we got down there. We didn't really know what to expect. We didn't really even have a good idea on where he was at the time. We just had a general vicinity. So I just remember we were driving. We were pulling up.
Like block ranges, or is that what you had?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We had kind of an idea of what block, what area he was at.
Okay.
So I just remember I pulled up. I pulled a scout car up. My partner was driving. I immediately jumped out of the car. My firearm was drawn. And as I walked around to the front of the scout car, you know, this kid comes walking around the corner with a gun to his head, finger on the trigger. Later found that the gun was loaded, one in the chamber. So I'm kind of in this situation where I don't have any cover. I'm a little bit, you know, kind of going 100 different ways, you know. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to control this narrative. And the first thing I could think about doing was just trying to create some type of contact with him, just try to talk to him. And as soon as I started to talk to him, you could tell, you know, he was shaking. He started crying. I was able to kind of determine, like, this isn't really a man with a gun. It is, but a lot of it has to do with he's going through a mental health situation.
Yeah. So you assess that on your own because you weren't told that in advance.
No, it's one of those split-second things that you kind of just got to figure out pretty quick, you know.
Yeah.
So I was lucky I was able to understand that, and, you know, the more I communicated with him, the more I was able to, you know, kind of help get him through the chaos going on in his head.
Yeah. And how, like, so with the part I saw on television that was on the news was, I think, your body cam.
Yep.
You know, your gun was out.
Yes.
And because, you know, you didn't know what he was going to do, but you were taught, you know, just the way you were trying to, you know, just the way you're trying to talk him down was intense.
It was. I wish I could tell you I was reading off a script to him. But
yeah. But it sounded like you were because but it's
I was winging it. I had my firearm drawn because I'll be honest with you, it only takes a split second from him to turn that gun from his head to mine.
Of course.
So
he's holding the gun.
You know, that, like I said 1,000 times, that could have went so many different ways, and we just got lucky. But yeah, I mean, he could tell. I mean, he said it immediately. He wanted to die. I mean, you know, I didn't want him to die. I don't want him to die. I don't want anybody to die.
Yeah.
You know, I want everyone to go home to their family every day. You know, and he later came out that he was already in a mental institute, and he felt he was released too early, which it was clear as day that he obviously was.
Yeah.
So luckily, he was able to trust me that I was going to get him the help that he needed, and that's why it turned out the way it was.
So when you assessed him within, you know, 9 seconds or whatever the time frame is that you're, how do you in your mind go immediately into, you know, that he needs help? Because there's just so many ways that could have gone. You know, I mean, like how's the training go for that, and how much is it just your instincts?
So, I mean, we obviously do a lot of training when it comes to, you know, mental health and going to calls, because in today's age, unfortunately, there is a massive intake in mental health crises across the country. But to be honest, a lot of it has to do with, you know, your instinct. I mean, I'd like to think that I've been in the lowest spot in my life. You know, I'm sure we all have been somewhere really low in our life. So just being able to look at that and recognize, like, you know, this guy is just, he's at a really low point. I don't know what's going on in his life. I just know he's at the bottom. You know what I mean? And if I can just walk him through it, you know, there's no way that he can go from up. And the other thing is, you know, I'm a veteran. I'm a Marine. I was a machine gunner. I did time overseas. They you know, the big saying of 22 veterans a day kill themselves. I've had a lot of experience dealing with, you know, veterans with mental health crisis. I can honestly say that every roommate that I've had in the barracks, unfortunately, passed away from suicide. So it kind of opens your eyes to being able to recognize, you know, this is what this gentleman's going through, and being able to determine whether or not I think my life is in danger, or I think this is more of a situation where I'm trying to talk this man off for making a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you at the time that you get him to drop the gun, that's when you know that, you know, you can approach. I mean, you can't approach him while he's holding the gun, right?
Correct.
I mean, is that sort of the whole playbook?
Because while the time that he has that gun, like I said, it could be very fast from his head to mine.
Yeah.
So until I can talk him through dropping that weapon, I have to continuously to just try to communicate and convince him to put the gun down. And until that happens, we're kind of at a stalemate in that matter.
So you get called into situations all the time. Obviously, some are super intense like this one, some aren't. How often do you get called into a situation that's this intense?
That's
Is
a
it
tough
once a
question.
month? Is it twice a year? I mean, that's a pretty intense situation.
I would say once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I feel that those situations are increasing in frequency. I mean, it's just one of those things that you put your uniform on, you go to roll call, and once you sign into your car, you have no idea what you're going to expect. Every day is a different day. Some days could be slow and boring, and which is not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
And some days are 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
40, 50 runs, police calls, runs that you have to go and take care of and help other people. You never know.
So you were with your partner at the scene.
Yes.
So how did you get into the position that you were taking the lead on this and he was kind of your backup? I mean, I don't know exactly what happened. I was kind of curious about how that goes down.
So myself and Officer Cobble, we work together quite a bit. We kind of know exactly how we operate. I don't really have to say anything to him. I can look at him and I can tell you exactly what he's going to do, and he can do the same thing with me. When I came out of the car and I instantly just started interacting, I didn't have to do anything. I remember I looked over at him one time and I just glanced, and I knew exactly what he was doing. He was getting cover and concealment to where the kid couldn't see him just in case a situation went a different way. He was yelling at officers to do certain things, go around the building or whatever needs to be done, so that his only focus was that I could have contact with this gentleman and that this kid could focus only on me. And that was Cobble's whole job, and we never had to say a single word about it. All we
Amazing.
did was look.
And obviously from the time you guys got there, backup comes. Is that the normal procedure? Others come to back you guys up depending on how the situation is going to go? Because to your point, you get there, you don't know what you've got,
Right.
but others are probably on the way.
So yeah, I mean, certain calls have different priorities to them. I mean, and over time and experience, you hear a run come out over the dispatch, and you're like, we got to reroute, we got to go to that. So it's not even necessarily like this run requires this many. It's just depending on the priority of the run. Obviously, a man with a gun is a huge priority, and we don't know what's going to unfold. Especially in today's world. So you're getting everybody. Everyone's going to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you get a run with, something as simple as a parking violation, you're going to get one officer. So
Right.
there are different priorities to different runs. You know what I mean? Some runs require more, some require less. Runs like that, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah. And so how much follow-up do you get on the kid that was involved in the scenario?
If I could tell you what I could honestly have left that scene, and I got him the help he needed, and got him to the hospital, and I could have washed my hands, and that would have been it. But, you get a lot of officers, not just me, but a lot of officers I work with, it doesn't really sit well with us, so we always follow up. I know he's doing a lot better. I've spoke with his aunt. He's definitely getting the help he needs. I know he's very thankful. I'm hoping that sometime in the future I'll be able to actually have a visit with him. And maybe we can talk about his progress. I really would like to just give him a hug.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing I took away from watching the clip is that this is a scenario that could have gone either way. I mean, this is a scenario where, and you know a lot more about this than I do, but somebody handles it differently, because people are people, and not, people think you're a police officer, but you're not a robot. You're a person.
No.
And so somebody comes up there and potentially handles it a little differently, says things a little differently,
And situations change.
Yeah, and this kid could have killed himself.
I can say that I absolutely agree with that. There are some officers that maybe come into the situation a little more escalated than they needed. I feel like I've been doing this for a while, and with my experience in life, I truly do believe that I was meant for that one. And I think that I can't speak for how other officers react. I can tell you a lot of the guys on my shift, I truly feel would have done the same.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I really got lucky. I think he got lucky that I was able to be the one that controlled that, because I really did feel for him. At the same time, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. There's a point in your mind where you're in this situation, you're like, I don't know if I'm going home today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no idea how.
Well, I
this is gonna
don't, but
go.
yes, I hear you, because I don't have to live in that world, and you, fortunately for me, live in that world.
So, and honestly, I've been in. We as officers, we're in that situation a lot. And it's a scary thought. It's sometimes you're driving home and you're just in tears.
Yeah.
So I mean, the things that unfortunately you have to see, we do it so that other people don't. This job it's not just a job. It's a life. It's your life. It's a way of life. Whether it's on duty or off duty, everything that I do reflects on my badge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful on how, we react to things and how we perform even outside of work. So I like to think that officers are held to a higher standard. Absolutely, they should be. And that's all we can do is just do our best, have compassion. Officers that come in here and they just want to, escalate things and, they just want to arrest bad guys and stuff. There's always going to be a bad apple, But I like to think that our generation, and people maybe not understand it, but I think that this generation of officers coming into this world right now, they're filled with compassion and they're filled with love, and I see it every day. And I think that the whole philosophy of policing is changing for the good. At least I'd like to think so. I think there's a lot more officers countrywide that are a lot like me, and I can't speak for before, but I can definitely see a difference now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I think that, just the things that I know know about you, being a Marine, having had to have a high, empathy about what some of the folks that you served with had to go through.
Yeah.
And then being on the scene, it seems like you were sent to that scene for a reason. I mean, it did.
A part of me thinks so.
It doesn't seem like a coincidence. And the fact that you saved this kid, just all the stuff that's lined up in your life that was probably extraordinarily difficult for you to go through, serving the country and everything else. I mean, I'm glad, I hope that you're getting the accolades and not just for you, but for all guys like you, and I think it seems like that you sort of serve a greater good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that there's not times that burden weighs pretty heavy. I know there's a lot of guys that bottle it up. Officers are no different than anyone else, just like this kid. You have to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You got to get help. I have a strong support system. I've spent many nights out to eat with my guys that I work with, and we're all having a good time and crying and laughing and just talking through it. I mean, we all went to the same run, and it was catastrophic, and it's one of those things that you can't unsee, and the only thing we can do is just talk about it with each other, because they're the ones that are going to understand it the most. They were there. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing I do with veterans. Like, I was there, buddy. I can sit here and talk to you about these things because I understand. And that's all that people need. People that are going through mental crisis, they don't want someone to just tell them, hey, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. They want to be understood. They want somebody to understand where they're coming from, why they're at the lowest point in their life. And in order for that to happen, they need to be around somebody that actually has been there. And I can honestly say that I've been there, so I can relate. And I can see it because I've been there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. Well, on behalf of everybody here at the show, I really appreciate you coming in and, one of the things you just said is the exact reason I wanted to have you on is because, I'm watching this thing and I went to my wife and I said, this guy's a guy just like me, and he's going into these kind of situations, with his life on the line. And I just, I really like to highlight great things that our police are doing for us and people like you are doing that are, heroic experiences. And, in a good way, this kid that owes his life to you, I mean, it's got to make all the crap that you have to go through rewarding. You know what I'm saying? And I hope you feel that way.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for your service. Appreciate it. For 8 good minutes. We'll see you next time.